Everyone, it's or should I say Wednesday. I feel like I'm giving vibes a bit of the girl from The Orphan too, but happy Halloween. I tried to dress on team for my October wrap up. This month was an interesting month for me. I tried to read more mystery, thriller, horror. It's usually, during the fall that I try to read as many as possible. I feel like it's been so hit and miss for me the last couple of years that I've kind of given up. But I tried this month. I really, really did. I did finish 13 books, which is awesome. Rating wise, though, it wasn't as good as the rest of the year. I feel like this year I've been having the best year ever. I've been giving 5 stars left and right. Not this month, though. I still have a couple that I think are absolutely worth reading, so I would recommend them. And then there are a few that I would recommend skipping. So let's get to it. I should stay on team and just not laugh. No smiles. I did a lot of different reading challenges this month trying to read mystery, thriller, horror, including Read It or Unhaul It, which is going to be a staple from now on my channel. Basically reading the books that I have had on my shelf for way too long and using a jar, picking up one, and I have to read it or get rid of it if I'm not enjoying it. And it's been interesting because the one I was the least excited to read, the last, ended up being my favorite in that challenge. That was just so weird. Look at that cover. This is one of the ugliest covers I've ever seen. Frankly, whoever did that, shame on you. I would honestly be mad if I were the author because I never would have picked up this book. Never would have picked it up if it weren't for this challenge. This was sent to me a couple years ago and I never picked it up because it was so ugly. Also, this is marketed as a murder mystery, but frankly, it's a post-apocalyptic. If you read it for the murder mystery, you're most likely going to be disappointed. But if you go into it for post-apocalyptic, I would recommend. So overall, you have this man who is on a trip, like a conference trip for work in Switzerland in this remote hotel. So there's a bunch of people like randomly from all over the world. In chapter 1, there's basically an announcement on phones going on in the dining room that there's a nuclear war. Washington was hit. Everywhere in the world is being hit. So you're following the story through his journal entry and like trying to figure out what's going on in the world. But very early on in the book, they find a body of a young girl and he's trying to keep it together by solving the murder mystery. But how do you do this when you have no internet, when like half the people left and the people that are still there, they don't really want to talk to you. I mean, they're obviously traumatized by what's been going on. And you can't really verify and like, do they even speak English, because he's one of the only American there. So it's all over the place. And considering that people think that Americans are responsible for electing the men that started all of this, there's a lot of hostility there. But I think that as a post-apocalyptic book, it's good. As a murder mystery, it's fine. It's not amazing, but post-apocalyptic, really good. I enjoyed where the story went. I feel like every time it was going in a direction, I was like, oh, please don't go there. She didn't. And it kept being interesting. I was overall satisfied with the ending. Also, my only real complaint is that there is one female character that is child-free, and every time I see one, especially in murder mysteries, they tend to be horrible people. Like, if they're not straight up the murderer, they're just horrible people, and that's the case here again. So, very unique. I definitely take it personally every time. So yes, if you're looking for a new post-apocalyptic book, I would recommend this. Otherwise, not worth it for the murder mystery. 4 stars. So someone just rang the doorbell looking for the party for the kids. And I'm like, wrong address, even though I'm wearing this costume. Okay, next book I picked up for that challenge was The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. For some reason, I thought it was the same author as the girl on the train. The drunk one, you know what I mean. And I forgot for a second that it was Ruth Ware. I have read a couple of her books. This is really not her best one. I am so tired of the whole alcoholic, unreliable female character. Is she crazy? She's just a drunk. I don't care anymore. Your book needs to be absolutely amazing for me to possibly enjoy it, and it wasn't. The premise was intriguing. You're following this woman who is a journalist. She's just been through some trauma. She drinks, and she goes on this trip for work where it's a small little boat that travels, north, Aurora Borealis, blah, blah, for rich people. And she's just supposed to write an article. And the first day, she has a woman in the cabin next to her, cabin 10, and then she doesn't exist, nobody's seen her, blah, blah, blah. She thinks that she heard her being pushed off the boat, so, like, she's trying to investigate while being unreliable. And like I said, I'm tired of that trope. It doesn't work. It never works. And the ending was weird, kind of. So her writing flows nicely. Like, even this isn't her best book, the writing flows. It was a quick read, so for that, I'm giving it 2 point something. Maybe I'm rounding it up to a 3. The best part is the cover. The 3D raindrops, yeah, if that's the best thing. I feel like things are balancing here. I'm still laughing at that woman staring at me in my costume. Okay, next book that I finished for that challenge was this one, The Lies I Tell, which you're following 2 women who are trying to seek revenge because of a scammer. The thing is, one of them is trying to seek revenge from a man from her childhood who basically stole the house of her and her mom. And then the other main character is a journalist trying to investigate the scammer because she thinks she scammed her. And I think you're supposed to root for the journalist, but frankly, I only cared about the scammer. Go you. Very much like women getting their revenge, if that's a trope that you enjoy. I definitely do. All the male characters in here. So, like, I'm happy with some of the stuff that happened there. I just wasn't as involved in the story as I expected, again, from the journalist perspective. So, it was okay. Quick read. Overall, enjoyed it. Like, it's very quick. But it wasn't an all-time favorite, so it's probably a 3.5. It was good, but nothing that I'll rave about, you know? I think I just ended up resenting the journalist because when she explained her reasoning, I was like, yeah, I'm not. No, it's not the scammer's fault. Next, also a disappointment. There are quite a few this month, be warned. Killers of a Certain Age. I was really looking forward to reading this one. I was really happy when I picked it up from the jar because you're following 4 women who are now 60 and they are finally retiring. They've been assassins for the last 40 years and they're going on a trip on a cruise to celebrate and then they realize someone is trying to kill them. So it's like kill or be killed, which sounds super fun. Of course I want to follow 60-year-old women trying to not die and kill people. I'm like, yes. But this was kind of boring. I really wanted to like it, but it felt so surface level, like trying to be fun and light while still being like a serious topic, obviously. But it just lacked depth. It just wasn't doing it. It just, yeah, it's not satisfying. So once again, it's a 3 stars because I like the idea. It's a fun concept. It just meh execution. Ooh, I almost forgot. Audiobook-wise, I finished The Woman in the Library. That was actually the first book that I finished. And big disclaimer, I listened to it as an audiobook. Don't do it. Don't do it. Super big mistake because the way it was narrated, you struggled to figure out when you were in real life and when you were in her book because the main character is writing a book based on things that are going on in her life. I was really, really confused the whole time because of it. I do have to say that the ending was really good, but again, I couldn't fully enjoy it because I was confused half the time. So it's on, well, not really on me. It's just the narration wasn't clear enough, I guess. So do recommend the book, but don't do it as an audiobook. I do think this is going to be quite popular. It was fun. It's just not meant to be an audiobook unless they just start making it clear. Like, I was so confused the whole time. The next audiobook I finished was Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda. I have read quite a few of her books. I'm like trying to go through all of them at this point. She writes really good small town murder mysteries. In general, they're enjoyable, but her last 2 have been kind of disappointing. The other one was worse, but this is her newest release and it's fine. So again, murder mystery in a small town. Main character works at this little hotel and people tend to stop there before they continue like their walk in the woods. And people keep disappearing, so it's like, who did it kind of thing in a small town? Like, is it someone that lives there? Blah, blah, blah. And it was fine, but it wasn't something that you will rave about or even remember. Basically, you're not going to see this book ever again being mentioned on this channel. Like, pretty much. The audiobook was quick, though. It was like 6 hours, so like, it's not a long read, but it's definitely not her best. Speaking of which, this one I feel bad. The Empress of Salt and Fortune. I had seen this book going around and I was really excited, but I didn't realize how short it was. I think the audiobook is like 3 hours, like maybe even less. Super quick. I didn't have time to get into it. Like sometimes short stories, like unless you get super engaged really quickly, I just didn't connect. If you like myths and like almost like fairy tale, this might work for you, but I'm not even going to rate it because I just have no opinions. It just happened really quickly and I was like, oh, I guess I finished it. So I just wanted to put it out there that I have read it. So, you know, but yeah. Now we're finally moving on to books I've actually enjoyed. because there are a few. First one, we have Sour Candy. I wanted to try to read more horror books because I like the idea of them. I just don't really find them very often scary, or I'm not very satisfied with the ending. I feel like multiple in a row I ended up hating them because they had an open ending, which I resigned. But I was recommended to pick that one up, and it was good. It was good. Let me actually read you the first page / sentence, really. Let's start with one. Okay. 4 months to the day that he first encountered the boy at Walmart, the last of Phil's penitent teeth fell out. I like a good first sentence, and I feel like this one is quite satisfying. So if you like creepy kids kind of story, I like them. I like them. So great cover, great book, super short read. It's like 75 pages. I couldn't put it down. I needed to know what was going to happen. I had a few moments where I just closed the books and I was like, nope, I can't do this. Nope, nope, nope. Which is great, obviously. So if you're looking for a scary read to read right now, would recommend it. If you have anything similar to recommend, let me know. But yes, the ending was good too, which is important, especially in short books. So yes, I was invested in that one so quickly, like so quickly. I needed to know. I needed to know. So after all of these ones that weren't working for me for mystery thrillers, I decided to try some translation because I'm trying to see maybe the classic, like American, currently popular or being marketed aren't working for me. Like domestic thrillers I know don't work for me. So I've been trying to find other things. And this year I've read a couple Japanese translation. And even though the writing is really, really dry when it's translated to English, I find that just the ideas are more unique, or just unique to me because I don't see them very often. And it's the case with this one. You're following this woman and she separated from her husband because he was basically abusive, trying to get money out of her. He finds her again trying to do that. And he dies. I'm not going to explain what happens exactly. It is yours to discover. But he dies, and the neighbor, a genius in maths, decides to help her hide the body. And then you're following the whole book. It's just the investigation, the police trying to figure out what happened, and like you don't really know what happened either, and you discover it throughout the book. And I really enjoyed it. The murder mystery, really interesting. I just found it a bit dry because, again, the translation and the after ending. Why is it so common in so many mystery thrillers to have bad, like, not even epilogue, but just like an after ending? It was just, it brought the book down to me. Like, I just wish they had deleted it. It wasn't necessary, and it just kind of ruined my enjoyment a little bit. But overall, still enjoyable. Would recommend, again, if you're looking to read more murder mysteries. I want to read a lot more by the author. I have a few of his books on my TBR, and I'm very curious and intrigued. But yes, this one was overall really good. Just, I wish the after ending, there's no real epilogue, but it felt like one, and it was not necessary. I also read Tenders of Flesh, got it from the library, and okay, I had been warned, but I still wasn't quite prepared. I just wanted to know, quite frankly, what this book was about. It's a dystopian world where a virus affected animals, and they had to be all killed because whenever people would eat that meat, they would get sick and die. So all animals cannot be consumed anymore. They've been killed. If they're seen, they're killed. And now cannibalism is a thing. I had been warned it was going to be gruesome, and it was kind of traumatizing. Weirdly enough, I vlogged my experience, and you can see me lose my shit when I realized that cheese is still a thing, with like human milk cheese. I was reading it, I was like, yeah, cannibalism, okay, I can see that happening, but cheese? Apparently this is where I draw the line personally, but yes, questionable moments. I did feel like I saw the ending coming, but it was still really good. I enjoyed it. I can't say like I was enjoying reading it because it's obviously very traumatizing, but the social commentaries that can be made out of this. Very interesting book. Would love to hear your thoughts if you have read it. It's very quick. It's 200 something pages. So horror, I guess, dystopian, and it was good. Everyone is going to have a strong opinion, I think, after reading this. So yeah, it was good-ish. 4 stars. To balance things out after that, I decided to pick up something a bit wholesome, but there's a witch, so like that's still kind of on theme for fall in my opinion. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. In this world, witches cannot be together, so you have this woman who grew up very, very alone, but she's a witch, and she has a YouTube channel, actually. That's where she is discovered, and someone sends her a DM, basically offering her a job where she will be taking care of 3 young witches. So it's like a convent, kinda, of witches. And you have a strong like found family vibe, which I really, really enjoyed. I enjoyed the characters. It's a very character driven, like slow paced story, which I liked. Again, after Tenders of Flesh, I needed that. However, it's a romance, and I hated the romance. The main male characters in these romance, they suck. I can't root for them. Like, there's always, like, they try to have some kind of conflict for the story, but then the men just go way too far, and I can't stand them. Like, I feel like I'm their best friend, you know? The main female character. And then if you tell me he did that, I will never forgive him. I don't care if you did. I will not. Like, I am that person in real life. They know I can't stand them. And it's the case. Like, even though he apologizes, but he goes way too far. And, like, I don't think she had done anything wrong to begin with. Like, the author tries to play it as, like, oh, they both did mistake. But no, he did. Only he did. And my reaction when I was done with the book was everyone in there needs desperately to get some therapy. Like, desperately. So, yeah. Overall, enjoyed it because I read it, again, right after the other traumatic books. I needed something very wholesome. But I couldn't stand the romance. And, like, it's a romance book. So, like, you know, like, finding yourself plus romance. But still, questionable. Why? I just want some healthy romances. Then the two books that I read for the Patreon book club. The first one was The Thursday Murder Club, which I had been warned that book one wasn't going to be a favorite, but book two would be. So I was mentally prepared. And I feel like it reminds me a little bit of that in the sense that it's like fun idea, but... And you're following a group of older people. They're basically almost in their 80s. They're in a retirement village. And every Thursday, they meet up to try to solve, like, unsolved murders. And then there's a murder that happens around them. And they try to get very involved. Which, at first, it was feeling a bit like it wants to be wholesome, but I'm not really invested. It sounds a bit silly. I did feel like it got better. By the end, I ended up being a lot more invested. And, like, yes... These grandparents, these older people get way too invested in things that they should not be. Like, why are you getting involved? I get it, they're nosy, but yes. So the ending was good, but overall I'm kind of left a bit on the fence. It's hard to review because, again, really fun concept, and the execution was meh for like 3/4 of it, and then afterwards it picks up. Is it worth pushing? I don't know. The characters are very likable though. They're cute. I wanted, you know, the best for everyone. But I will be trying book 2 to decide how I feel about the series because I've heard that book 2 and 3 are much, much better. So I'm prepared. I also flipped from the audiobook to the physical book and I feel like I was enjoying it more as a physical book. So throwing it out there. But yeah, I'm so on the fence with this one. It's like a 3.5 stars. It just, I don't know why. When it's too surface level, that sounds snobby. I don't mean like when it's too surface level, I don't enjoy the book. No, it's just that I feel like it could have went further, but then it eventually did. If you've read this series, let me know because I don't know how to explain it better. I recently finished it and like it's good, but it could have been better, I feel like. But if you like really wholesome stories and characters, you might really enjoy this. I feel like it's a fun concept. Again, who doesn't like, isn't it funny to just think about like 75 to 80-year-old people trying to get involved in a murder mystery investigation? Yeah, it sounds fun to me. Like, they're bored. Of course they're going to try to get involved, especially since it's their hobby already to try and solve murder mysteries. But they know nothing about, like, the internet, you know? Anyway, now let's talk about the classic that we had to read for the month of September, October. I just finished it. I feel bad. I started in the beginning of the month, I put it down, and then it took me forever to find the courage to continue. Quite frankly, if it weren't for the book club, I don't think I would have finished it. Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility. It started strong. I mean, Jane Austen's writing is just stunning, and I really like her romances. My favorite by her are basically Pride and Prejudice and Emma, and it was giving me vibes of that in the beginning. And you can see where I gave up and went to the audiobook because I couldn't manage to finish it. There were just so many characters, and like there are two romances basically, or two main female characters that you're following their love life, and one of them I wasn't feeling it like at all. Like Eleanor, like the main female character, the older sister. What romance? What romance? On Patreon, I go into details. I watched the movie and the TV show, so we can compare all of it. But I wasn't feeling it by midpoint. I just wasn't emotionally involved. The only reason I finished the book was because of Colin and Brendan, who was like a cutie. But everyone else in here, I was not super emotionally I do have to give it to Austen that she writes really well ridiculous or annoying characters. Like whenever she wants you to hate someone, you will. You will. Like straight up in the beginning, basically their father dies and they have like a stepbrother, older stepbrother, who is supposed to leave them money because that's what their father told him as he was dying. And he basically is convinced by his wife to not do anything, basically. Reading that scene was infuriating. So yes, overall, maybe a 3 stars. I feel bad. I really thought I was going to love this, and it's not the worst that I've read by her. I still enjoyed it more than Northanger Abbey or Persuasion, but it wasn't anywhere near, again, Emma or Pride and Prejudice. So I would love to hear your thoughts. I only have one more book by her to have read all of her full-size novels. Mansfield Park, which I've heard is not her best, so I'm nervous now. I wanted to read it next year with the book club, but I don't know now. But yeah, Colin Brendan though. And then what I'm currently reading, audiobook-wise, I'm reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I think I'm 28% into it. Let me double check. 38. I listened to it as I was getting ready this morning. It's going to be a quick read. I'm almost halfway. It's like 11 hours. It's a YA book about a murder mystery in a small town. This teenage girl disappeared. The body was never found, and they just assumed that her boyfriend did it because the boyfriend unalived himself after everything happened, so it's just assumed that he did it. And the main female character, a couple years later, decides to investigate what happened as her project to end high school. And so far it's fine. It's fine. I'm not as invested as everyone else said I was going to be. Everyone was like, oh, it's so worth it, even though it's YA. But so far, I don't know. We'll see, though. I still have 60% left. And physical book, I just started Shards of Earth, which is actually our book club pick for the month of November. And I'm so excited. First Contact with Aliens, I guess, kind of space opera. I do in Tchaikovsky. I want to read more by him. This is going to be a trilogy, book 3. I don't know if it's out yet or will be any seconds now. So you can binge read the whole thing, and I already know it's going to be good. There's a few bits that are in French, and I'm like, haha, I can read that. And that's it. Like I said, not my best reading month, although there's still a few that I would recommend. I'm proud that I at least have been doing my read it or unhaul it, so I'm finally going through some of my TBR soon. This is not going to be the background. I'm almost done with the library. I cannot wait because this has been fun, but I can't grab any book ever. So I'm glad it's over. So if you're also trying to learn to put down books, I would recommend, I did a video all about DNF's books that I did not finish, will not finish, and some of the ones I should have. And then I also recently posted my November TBR if you want to see what I'm planning on reading this month. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will see you next video very soon. Bye.